And we are live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Coach's Corner. Wow, we're going to talk about something extremely powerful today, something very special. If you don't know, we've been covering The Science of Getting Rich, a very popular book that's changed millions and millions of lives. And I'm so grateful to revisit this material with my amazing colleagues here. And shout out to Lou. She's not with us, but she's here in spirit as well for this particular session. And we're going to share our experiences with this knowledge, but also give you a little bit extra, as always. And I'm sure there are going to be, some great stories shared here, and you get to receive it from, different perspectives and spirits as well, and knowledge, right? So I always love doing Coach's Corner because not only it allows me to tap into this material, it's to connect with you as well, our viewers. So shout out to all our viewers, all those that engage, all those that reach out to us. Even if you just like it or heart it, we're grateful for you. But we want to basically have you apply this material so you can see and experience the shift. That's what it's all about, is changing your life. And who wouldn't want to get rich watching this? Who wouldn't want to even increase their income? Right, right? Like, who doesn't want to do that? And if that's uncomfortable for you, that's a limiting belief. That's your limiting self trying to hold you back, right? You desire more life. So without further ado, my name is Jamel Matias. I'm a certified mindset success coach / business consultant. I basically partner with Proctor Gallagher. And my purpose is to reveal the hidden potential that's already there within you and guide you to your truest desires. It's all about believing in the unseen. And we're talking about income. Believe in that income, that revenue that you always desire, that you wish and hope for. Now we're giving you practical steps to apply it, to take the first step towards it. So I work with individuals, businesses, entrepreneurs, and basically help you hit higher milestones. And I'm very passionate about that, as you will see. So I'm in Maryland. It's decent weather. That depends on your perspective, but I'll pass it along to my amazing colleague, Paul.
Thank you, Jamel. I'm so happy to be here. And as Jamel said, it's a really powerful chapter and the discussion that we're going to have today. And my name is Paul Wooters. I'm from Burlington, Ontario, just west of Toronto in Canada. And I'm a success mindset coach, Proctor Gallagher consultant. I recently have a position at the World Life Education Center in high school as the director of inner potential and personal mastery. And so how did this all happen? I was stuck at one point as well, as so many people are. But it's by applying these principles that we talk about and through mentorship and, really learning and studying this material that our mentor, Bob Proctor, created. And so now I devote my time to helping individuals create their life with intention and by design, rather than living by default, and help you live to your greatest possibilities. I'm going to hand this over to my colleague, Alicia.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Paul. Hi, Jamel. My name is Alicia Espinosa. I am a certified mindset and values coach. And I help people that have everything, but still feels empty on the inside because they are chasing something outside themselves instead of finding something from the inside. So I help people to create a life that feels good on the inside, not just good looks good from the outside. And also I help leaders that want to create a very good workplace, leaders worth following. And I am in Sweden. Thank you.
I always love it, that we have these global Coaches Corner, right? How divine is that, right? We're in different areas, but we connected in perfect synergy. That's I'll probably mention that word again in this episode. In perfect harmony. It's so wonderful when I think about that. So speaking of wonderful, does anybody want to know the first principle of getting rich? The first principle. Before we get into it, for all our viewers there, right off the top of the hour here, if you watched past episodes and you got motivated or inspired or something really spoke to you, our call links are available in the description or the comments area, and whatever platform you're on, just reach out to us. We definitely want to help you and see if we can help you if you're a good fit for mentorship, because like Alicia shared, helping you feel good on the inside, that is key to the results that you desire, right? And it's not only feeling good, but also having direction and accountability and application and someone that's doing it with you, right? So that is so important. So for a recap, if you haven't watched the episodes on the science of getting rich, we have been diving into this book. Chapter 1, you have the right to be rich. You have the right to be rich. Remember that. If you don't know that, now you know that. So watch that episode. There is a science of getting rich. We talked about that. And is opportunity monopolized? We talked about that as well. And today we're talking about the first principle in the science of getting rich, right? So we were mentioning, revisiting this material is so powerful as we're growing and changing as people. And the first thing that jumps out to me, it's like in the first sentence or two in this chapter, it says, thought is the only power which can produce tangible riches from the formless substance. So we mentioned formless substance many times in the other episodes, and it's the stuff from which all things are made is a substance which thinks, and a thought of form in this substance produces the form. So what does all that mean? I was like, whoa, okay, thank you for reminding me about that. Thought is the only power which can produce tangible riches. So that reminds me a lot of what Bob shares. And I think he was the first person I ever heard say that. He said, everything's created twice, first in the imagination and then in your material world, right? So in your imagination, I'm tying that in with the formless substance, because imagination, it's formless. Like you can't really touch it or smell it or hear it, but you know that it's there when you use your imagination. So, and it says the stuff from which all things are made is a substance which thinks. So that imagination, it has a kind of a mind of it can think, right? So it has an essence of intelligence to it. And a thought of form in that substance produces the form. So you thinking of it in the substance is creating. And I always remember Bob sharing, we are creators put here to create. And I always loved that. To start off the chapter, that was amazing. Anybody here want to piggyback on that?
Wow. Yeah. It's such a, like we were discussing before we got on the call, that we really, have to read this over and over again, study it to really digest what he's saying here, to really grasp the meaning of it. And so in the first few chapters that Jamel briefly highlighted that we had talked about already, the author, Wallace Wattles, he's introducing this philosophy. And this chapter is a core chapter where the author, Wattles, introduced the foundation of the philosophy. Everything is made from this formless substance. And the universe is filled with it. It's filled with it's a creative, it's an intelligent, it's a substance. It's sometimes called formless substance or a thinking stuff, but everything we see comes from it, and it responds to thought. Wow. So thought creates reality. By thinking in a certain way, we can impress our ideas upon this formless substance. Okay. And those ideas then take the shape in the physical world. Wow. Wow. I just really have to, get my head wrapped around that a bit. So, but that's a really powerful statement. Alicia, do you have something to add to that?
Yeah, when I read this, it was like a lollipop, you need to and go and and think about that because I felt like it was for me the language of the book was very interesting, and also I thought what he means with that. And then I realized that, yeah, but everything is from a thought. I mean, if we look at the pen I have, it was a thought from somebody sometimes that is say, okay, I want to create that. And then it started, and then somebody else pick up that idea, and then, maybe I do this color or something like that. So everything comes from this thought. And I was also thinking that it's not just to think that thought once, but you need to repeatedly think that thought. If you want to create something, you cannot like think that, I want that, and then the rest of the day you don't believe that. And it was somebody told me that, yeah, but I don't believe in that just because I think about that. Yeah, I know that is difficult to understand, but it doesn't mean that you will sit at home in your couch and thinking about to create something and suddenly will appear. Of course, you need to take action to do things, but it all starts with the thought. Even in the morning, first you think, oh, I need to do this, or I'm going to make my coffee, or I'm going to do that before you go and do that. So, yeah, it's a very interesting chapter here.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And I'm glad you mentioned that because, some people would hear this and think, oh, I just need to think about it and feel good about it. Action is required. But a lot of times action can also be your vibrational state as well, right? So that ties into what you're thinking about. And he talks a little bit later about sustained thought, basically, you being emotionally involved with this thought in order for the thinking substance, original substance, to hold it. And as I say that, I'm thinking about where he mentions the oak tree. He says, every form and process you see in nature is the visible expression of a thought in original substance. So every form and process you see in nature. So like I mentioned in past episodes, I'm a nature boy or a nature person, right? I love nature shows. I love looking at animals. I love being in nature. And they talk about an oak tree, and it talks about how it's formed. And basically that little acorn or whatever, it is tapping into this substance, this original substance. And it's using that energy to become the grand oak tree that you see. I mean, of course, it doesn't happen instantly, but it does happen over time. And every stage of growth is basically designed. So I know I'm going to grow that branch. I know I'm going to grow those leaves, right? So it's striving over time. Of course, in our lifetime, I don't know the lifespan for a full oak tree, but we don't see that with our visual eyes. But it basically says even movement, certain movement is part of that original substance as well. Every form of nature. I love that because it makes you kind of see things in a different way. And then it says we live in a thought world, which is part of a thought universe. wow, we live in a thought world, which is part of a thought universe, right? So this just totally blew my mind. I'm gonna find the sound effects later. But the point with this is your world, you can not know this, right? And be creating, not even knowing it with your thoughts, right? What you don't want. How many times are we going to create what we don't want in our lives? So with this knowledge, it's extremely important for you not only to understand a little bit of it, but to start living it. And basically a thought world. So how do you spend your days and what are you thinking on? Where's your focus? What we tune into, we turn into. Thoughts become things. We become what we think about all day long. So your thoughts are the building blocks of your future, of your life. And that's every walking human being on this planet. And then it even goes further. It's part of a thought universe. And it even talks about in the chapter about how planets were made and how they're moving and how they're turning in our solar system. I can go on and on about that because there's multiple solar systems. There's multiple galaxies. They found galaxies way out in God knows where. But all of this is part of the same original substance that we are a part of, that we are blessed to tap into. That blew my mind. That's why I get so excited sharing this material, because it's vital to understand and really apply. Anybody that jumped out at you?
Jamel, absolutely. I highlighted that line exactly. It's funny, we were talking about that earlier too. We live in a thought world, and the world is a part of a thought universe. Like that, exactly as Jamel said, I thought, wow, that's another, like, I really have to like digest that statement. And what it means is that thought is the foundation of all creation, right? Everything you see, buildings, businesses, art, technology, first existed in someone's mind. And then it manifested in the physical world, right? Like Jamel said, Bob mentioned that to us. Everything is created twice, first in the mind and then in the physical world. So earlier on, Alicia was introducing herself and she was talking about a person's inner world. Well, our inner world shapes our outer world, right? What we consistently think and believe impresses itself upon our actions, upon our choices, and ultimately then that's the results we experience. And so, the universe is responsive to that. The universe isn't a dead mechanism. It's living, it's intelligent. It's an intelligent substance that reacts to thought, it reacts to our thinking. So when we think in harmony with abundance and growth rather than scarcity and lack, and we think about possibility, then we are aligning ourselves with the creative process of the universe, right? And limits, any limits that you see, those are self-imposed. Those are self-imposed. If thought creates form, then the scarcity and the lack, they're not conditions of the universe, but they're just reflections of the thoughts that we hold inside.
Yeah. I was thinking when you say that, everything is created from our thought, and I was thinking about myself. I am trying to, or not trying. I normally say there is no try, or you do or you don't do, but I am preparing myself for my next year's goals. Yeah. So I'm thinking, what do I want to create next year? So I start my process at now. And why I start my process already now at the end of September or something like that is because I want to create something that is outside my comfort zone. So in my thought, It's like, yeah, I'm going to create this and this and this. But because we all have a thief inside us, do you remember that I had before the thief? I have here, you know, the thief in us that want to always to sabotage for us. It's like it start to tell me that it's not possible. So I, by thinking all the time, like, training myself to get that thought as how I can say, like that my mind will accept that. But it takes time for me to let my mind to accept that thought, because this thief, as soon as I go outside my comfort zone, wants to stop me. And we all have that. And what happened is that 1 second I decide, yes, I'm going to do that. And the next time, no. And I start to doubling. What is,
Doubting.
doubling?
Yeah,
Doubting. Yeah.
Mhm.
Doubting myself. So I train my mind to think the thought that is aligned with what I want to create. And for me, it takes a little bit the time to do that. Is why I start at the beginning, and to always think positive it doesn't mean that in Sweden we say is not to, what do you say in English, is to think that it's raining but you don't see that it's raining. What I want to say, it's not like trying to not to see the facts that it's raining. It's like, okay, it's raining, what I'm going to do now. So our thought is we need to create that thought that we want to, that is aligned with what we want all the time. It is a working in process all the time. It's not like, oh, now I am good at thinking positive or thinking good. No, as soon as we go outside the comfort zone, the thief inside us will always come and try to sabotage for us. I don't know how it's for you. For me, it's like that.
That's so good. So good. So good. Because that's exactly what I was going to share. This is a perfect segue. That's amazing how that works. Wallace D. Wattles says thought is the only power which can produce tangible riches, right? So what thought are you choosing, right? So no thought of form can be impressed upon original substance without causing the creation of the form. So what Alicia is sharing here, the thief, right? A lot of people are choosing those thoughts in the original substance, creating what they do not want.
Yeah.
Over and over and over again. Why? Because they become conditioned to. And they have lack of knowledge of self, right? Not a lot of people stop to really be aware of their thoughts and know that their thoughts become things. So this is where you can shift that, right? You can shift it to the riches. We're specifically talking about money here. Remember, money is very important. We talked about it so many times. Lifestyle, experience, travel, food, education, medical, transportation, luxury things, just fuller expression, expansion. So you can choose the thoughts that you want in this original substance rather than the thief. Oh, there's not enough money. Mm-hmm. Oh, I need to work harder. See all these things you're creating with your thoughts. And this is something that I didn't know. I had a feeling early in my life, but I didn't know to this degree, right? How powerful our thoughts are. And I remember Bob saying, "Oh, that thinking stuff. Oh, here they go again. All that positive thinking and affirmations, that thinking stuff penetrates everywhere throughout the universe. It's the most powerful thing that we've been blessed with. But we're not talking about mental activity, right? Where you're just thinking about, oh, what I got to do after I'm finished watching this. Oh, what I got to do, this, and that. We're talking about deep, consistent, focused thinking. And speaking of that, it says, man is a thinking center and can originate thought. All the forms that man fashions with his hands must first exist in his thought. He cannot shape a thing until he has thought a thing. So that reminds me of the stick person. Here, you can originate thought. You can create whatever amount of money that you want in your life, with the lifestyle that you want, with the business that you want or want to start that you've been thinking about, so you can originate those thoughts. You can create the life that you want here, and you can impress it in your subconscious. And a really big thing is here, this is huge. I was going to say this for the end, but you know what I think? The subconscious is connected to the original substance. The original substance, where you're putting these thoughts into this original substance. And that's basically the emotional subconscious. That is the infinite intelligence, right? That's connected to the original substance. And as I was looking, I was like, wow, I never really thought about that until this morning. So that's just a few things to kind of, connect with what, Alicia was sharing about the power of our thoughts.
Jamel, I'm glad you brought that up. That's so good. Because, our conscious thinking mind, and all those senses, that's our connection to the physical world. And our subconscious, as Jamel just said, that's our connection to the spiritual world, or the universal, this thinking stuff, the universal intelligence. And so when we impress our desires on the formless substance, we impress our desires from our conscious thinking mind into our subconscious, we're impressing it on that formless substance, or that infinite intelligence, whatever it is you want to call it. And when you do that, with real clarity and with faith and belief, then you set in motion this process of growth and wealth creation, and understand that abundance, that the universe is abundant. There's no scarcity. That's something that we created in our own minds. This formless substance, it's inexhaustible. It doesn't have any limits. And so creation isn't about, taking from someone else or taking from others, because that's competitive. That's what the mindset, that everything is limited. So you have to take from someone else, but you don't have to take from others. But it's about bringing forth the expressions of wealth. And since we're talking about wealth, and Wallace talks about wealth and getting rich, it is a creative expression as well. So to get rich, then we have to form we're talking about a clear mental picture of what you want, whether it's about getting rich or starting a business or whatever it is you want in life, whatever it is you want to become or be. You have to have a real clear mental picture of what that is, because now you're sending a message to the universe. And when you hold that with real faith and with purpose, not about just wishful thinking, or as Alicia said, not just, okay, I thought about it this morning, then you don't think about it again. It is, and Jamel brought this up, it's not, it's about real thinking, and mental activity does not constitute thinking. Just mental activity does not constitute thinking. You have to really be consciously aware of what you're thinking, and direct your thoughts, and aligning your thoughts with the universal laws. So, this first principle is that thought is a creative power. So impressing your desires upon this formless, intelligent substance with your faith, with real clarity, then, things will start to set in motion, and they will be attracted to you, just like the oak tree that acorn draws to it everything that it needs.
I couldn't help.
I got some, both you and Jamel and Paul say about impressing what you think with your, because we need to be very careful with what we consciously say to ourselves. The constantly talking to ourselves and what we say to ourselves, because we are impressing it to the subconscious mind. And I have this, because, the subconscious mind is like a swamp, it takes everything, so if you have a lot of water, you put this, it will take all the water and put, and the subconscious mind is also the same. It's like, and so what we are impressing to consciously to the subconscious mind, we need to be very careful about that. And also, let's see what I hear. About the abundance. Paul, you say that it is abundance everywhere. It's not taken from others. So let's do an exercise. And I want you to take a breath, like all the time, like do that. Continue. No, continue to take the breath. It will be like, now give more. You cannot only take all the time, or you cannot give all the time. You need to have a balance. But the abundance is there. But if you take a breath all the time, and then you are not giving, you cannot survive that. So it's like the balance of taking and giving is, and the abundance is there for everybody. So I wanted to say that. And also, again, what we consciously do, and it says that we take 65,000 thoughts every day, and 95% are the same that the day before. Yeah. So we need to think, what are we programming ourselves with what thoughts are we thinking all the time, and focus on the positive, because I believe that life have positive and negative. It's like this, here is like rough and here is like very soft. So is life. But sometimes we focus more in this part that is not good, and that make us think negative all the time, instead of saying, okay, what is trying to emerge here? What is the universe or God or my higher self trying to tell me? What should I stop doing? What should I start doing? All this, instead of only focusing on the negative all the time. Because when we have so negative, it's like we cannot think clearly. So we need to think, okay, the situation, it is as it is, like, what is her name? I forgot the name of her that wrote the book, Loving What It Is.
I don't know the author. Loving What It Is?
It's Byron Kate.
Okay.
she wrote, "Loving what it is. It is what it is." And then, I know one of my
Yeah,
first coach I had,
Byron Katie.
yeah,
Hmm.
the first coach I have from that when I did the Thinking to Results like 13 years ago, he was like, "Okay, the situation is as it is." And he said, "It is as it is. What is the lesson here? What are you learning from this?" Instead of focusing all the time in the negative thinking. So it's very important, I think, because we are creating with our thoughts. And if we don't want to create more of what we don't like, we need to change the way we think.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, definitely. I totally agree. Um, you know, we're talking about getting rich, right? Any type of abundance, right? So Wallace mentions here, people get rich by doing things in a certain way. Doing things, doing things in a certain way. And we're explaining that certain way right here. And it's funny, he says, in order to do so, people must become able to think in a certain way. This was huge. I missed this part before. A person's way of doing things is the direct result of the way they think about things.
Mhm.
I was like, how did I miss that? Whoa. So, first is the thought. That's the beginning of all creation in your life and all the riches you desire. I'm so glad, we're talking about thinking, because the doing is actually it's after the thought. You would do things a certain way after you think it in a certain way. And I know feelings follow thinking. See, this, it wasn't mentioned there, but I'm tying in all this knowledge, right? So as you're thinking about who you're becoming, right, you start feeling a different way. And vibration obviously attracts like. And then you're in a flow state. Like, you're not forcing or thinking about things that you don't want, where you're creating opposition, right? You're trying to force negates. So now, with that awareness, I was like, oh, for a lot of people it has the hustle mentality that I came from, right? All I knew was work. I was just doing and doing and doing, but where are my thoughts? Right? I'm out of harmony. I'm out of harmony with doing things in a certain way. This is so good to understand. And I'm grateful to have this awareness now. Think the way you want to think. This is the first step towards getting rich, is thinking the way you want to think. And it's so powerful because here you can accept or reject any thoughts in your conscious mind. Think the way you want to think. And most people, it's because it's just conditioning. It doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't make you dumb or anything like that. I didn't know this. I was allowing the outside world shape what goes here in my conscious mind. And that gets impressed, and your vibration is off. You're not connected with your, the thoughts you want to think or the riches that you desire. And you're allowing all these different things affect what you think about. You're out of harmony. And it says to think what you want to think is the truth. It's in bold, all caps, truth, regardless of appearances. Regardless of appearances. Now, this is a new way of thinking. I told you we're really going to share something special here, because to think what you want to think is truth. It's your truth. And I kind of slept on that one too. I was like, how did I miss these? So that truth, it's true to you regardless of what's happening in your life, current conditions or circumstances. That is your truth, and you hold on to it. That's your truth of what you desire. and rather than being tossed around. This is very, very powerful. And I'll share something else about, that truth in a moment here. But yeah, Paul, anything? Did we have the same notes again?
No, I just love it. I'm going to just backtrack a bit to what you said and what Alicia said, about the thoughts. And, we have 65,000, 70,000 thoughts a day. And as Alicia said, 90% of those things are the same things we thought about yesterday. And in fact, of those things, about 80% are negative. It's like our default thinking, right? We think about the negative thing. We think about the limiting beliefs. We think about the lack. We think about the scarcity. It's like our default setting. So we have to be very aware of our thinking. We have to be very conscientious of what we're thinking. And this thinking is, it's the most powerful creative thing that we have. It's our greatest power to think. And of that, we have the power to choose. So like Bob would say, it doesn't require any more energy to think of a big idea than it does to think of a small idea. But we just naturally, within ourselves, we just shut that down. We say, well, no, that's too big. I don't think I can do that, or whatever. I've never done that before. I don't know how, or he can do it or she can do it. I can't do it. I failed. It's all this default negative thinking. We immediately go down to that default thinking, which is generally negative. And so we have to very consciously think about what it is we do want and impress that upon our subconscious and keep bringing it out. And we struggle, right? We have that internal struggle. We have that internal dialogue, who do you think you are? You can't do that. Or you don't have what it takes, or you don't have the knowledge, or something. We have that negative voice inside. So we have to be very conscientious about what it is we're thinking about. We have to guard our thoughts, and we have to direct our thoughts and use it in a deliberate way to shape what it is we do want, and to shape the life that we really desire. And we can do that. We can construct that, but it takes awareness, and it takes consciously thinking and consciously directing our thoughts, and not allow it to slip away into that default setting of negativity, of lack, and of scarcity, and all the things that we can't, and of fear, and just know that it's a great power, and we do have the power to choose. So we can choose our thoughts, and we can direct our thoughts. We have to guard our thoughts and deliberately use it towards the thing that we want. Alicia?
Yeah, I agree with you. This is so a freedom to be able to choose ourselves. But again, it is, you need to be courageous to be able to say, this is my life. I take 100% responsibility for that. And then know that you can choose what you think, what image you create in your head, and your behavior. And all this are tied to the thoughts that we think. And again, it's a freedom, but it also, you need to be courageous to take 100% responsibility, to say, okay, this is my life, and I'm going to do this, and direct your thought to this, what you want. And of course, the thief will always, will come all the time and tell you that this is not possible. For me, my process to setting goals is that I set goals that are very, very outside my comfort zone. And then I set the goals, and then I sit down and I think, what I am thinking about this this goal. And then I write everything, both positive and negative, everything. And then I write what I am feeling about this. And I write everything. And then I also, the first thing that I do is that, is this goal aligned with my values? So if I know that it's aligned with my values, then I can go and do the things that I need to do because it's aligned with my values. So, and it's why Bob says also always that the goal should be worthy of you, because you are taking time to do the thing, and it you know, you need a lot of thought, you need to courageous, and fighting this thief that will take your happiness from you if you let them do that. So, and it's the fear, and it's everything. I write like, what fears do I have about this? And it's why my process is so long, because I try to, you know, to uncover everything. And sometimes it's not so nice, but I think that when I set the goals, then I know that this is what I want, and I go for that. Then I can start creating my thought that I need to have for that to reach them.
That's amazing. That is so good. You're right. I love how you shared, you know, you need to be courageous. You really do. And, you know, a lot of people don't stop to think and see how they're thinking. Or even just, we'll put it another way, to be aware of their thoughts, right? You have to just stop the pattern, right? And having this repeated pattern of not being courageous, you're hiding, right? And you're getting the same results over and over, which is what you don't want. And that's why this session is so powerful and so important for you to really think about. Because how long are you continuously allowing your thoughts to create the future and results that you don't want? Especially,
can I say something there?
Yeah, please.
You are not only hiding, but you are complaining and blaming and putting your life in somebody else's hands. And I normally say to my clients, for me, my goals is to help people to understand that happiness is inside, is in your hand, and not in another people's hand or things, just inside you.
Yes. Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah. You know, happiness comes from within, not from without. Right. And it's funny, I just did lesson 7 with a client of mine this morning about trample the terror barrier, right? Facing fear. And of course, fears are false, but we create them and make them so real. And some people even have a fear of imagining the riches they really want, a fear of having the income, the money that you want, the lifestyle that you want. Imagine that, right? So we're talking about taking responsibility. I love that, Alicia. Responsibility is the key to freedom. Blaming, complaining, everybody does that. It does nothing for you. It is not creative. It's destructive. And what it does, it takes your own power from you and you're putting it outside of yourself into other things. So stop doing that. If you got anything out of this, stop doing that, because you're spreading yourself thin and you're losing focus and you're not attracting what you want. You're attracting more what you don't want when you do that. When you blame, it even said that in the chapter. When you blame, you're kind of attracting what you're blaming about. So you'll get more things basically to blame. or complain about, right? So, it says every person has the natural and inherent power to think what they want to think, but it requires far more effort to do so than it does to think the thoughts which are suggested by appearances. So it even says to think according to appearances is easy, right? What you see, what you hear, that's easy. But to think regardless of appearances is laborious. I like that little section there. So it will take effort to shift how you've been thinking, right? But the rewards you're seeking is far greater than what you're experiencing now by not thinking. And it says every appearance in the visible world tends to produce a corresponding form in the mind which observes it. So basically, we're looking at things and having these things dictate how we think and how we feel and what we're worth and our full potential. I'll say now, we have unlimited potential. We have unlimited potential. Don't let the outside world affect the inside. So, and this can only be prevented by you can prevent allowing the appearance of things affect you by holding the thought of the truth. So the biggest question is, what is the truth for you in terms of being rich? What is your truth? This is why you got to get clarity on where you're going and who you're becoming. This is why we're here doing these. We have fun. We want to express ourselves, but we're here for you. And these are very powerful things to not only understand, but to apply. And the more you apply it, the stronger you get. The stronger you get, the more things you can create. The more you can create, the better life you can have for you and your family. So that was just a few points that really spoke to me.
I love it. I love what you guys have both have said. And again, it goes back to, if you're looking at the outside and allowing the outside circumstances, situations to control you, you're giving up control, right? You're handing control. You don't have control. You're giving control to the circumstances, to the outside world. And you're, as Jamel said, as Alicia said, you're blaming and you're complaining. But everything starts from the inside out. You want to have control. And as Jamel said, what is your truth? And as Alicia said, you revert to this default setting that you have, and you rather complain about something or blame something for your circumstances rather than being, taking responsibility. And you're responsible for your own thoughts and hanging on to those thoughts. And as Jamel said, you have to consciously, it takes some work. It takes some work. So you have to be very aware of what you're doing, and you have to apply it. If you're just reading something and you're reading something, it's that saying, knowledge is power. Well, knowledge isn't power. Knowledge is only potential power. So if you're not applying it, it's what Jack Canfield said. It's like sticking it, you have shelf knowledge. Everything is just sitting on the shelf. If there's no application to it, then there's no power in it. So it's really about taking this and really applying it to your life. And it does require some work. It requires thinking. You have to ask yourself, you have to reflect, what am I thinking? And then direct your thoughts and not be so influenced by what you're seeing in your outside world.
Yeah, I put here what you both said. Don't let the outside world dictate how you feel by thinking. Many people are like cows. They are like, what is in English when the cow, they eat and then all the
Yeah, I know the word graze.
I don't know what it's in, but
they eat the grass.
They can long after they eat, then go yum yum yum. So many people go and do that. But why I did, why I say that? Why couldn't I all the time. And it made me think about the success principle from the Jack Canfield teachings, that is, event plus response is outcome, give the outcome. And sometimes people put so much energy in the event, but it's the response to the event that will give you the power. And you can react or you can respond. And when you react, you let your emotions take over. And what happens when the emotions and you are angry or something like that, that you will go to the animal's way of being, like you freeze or you fight or you like fly, but when you act or you're responding, then you step away and say, okay, if I am creating this situation, how I am creating that, how, you start to think and not letting the emotions take over, but you think how I'm creating this, or I am allowing this to happen, so, and that is also courage to do that, not to go directly and start to blaming and shaming or be angry about the situation, the event, but to choose the response. And that is the freedom, the freedom to choose. And I think that the one that wrote the book, Man's Searching for Meaning, that he say the last thing that somebody can take from you is your attitude or your way of thinking. So, yeah, that is what it came to me when so event plus response is give the outcome, and the outcome will depend of the response you give to the event, not the event, because the event has already passed. It's like the responses that is
Yeah, I'm so glad you mentioned that, Alicia, because that is key to so much, right? And how many people react over responding, right?
Yeah.
And remember, reacting comes from a low awareness.
Yeah.
So essentially, that's an animalistic behavior.
Animalistic. Yeah.
Right. So you become like the cows.
Yeah.
You're just reacting to every little thing that happens to you, and that just shows your awareness. But don't feel bad if you've done that, or continue to do that. This type of session should shift your awareness, right? Respond over reacting, right?
Can I
And
say something here? I remember now, is that if we are, if you are growing in a family, if you have been in a family that are always having that kind of, the victim language, because the victim language is when you are reacting, and the victor language is when you are thinking first. And I normally say, I am from Panama. I came to Sweden. And when I came to Sweden, I could speak the language. It wasn't because I was an idiot. No, it's because I could not talk the language. But I started to learn and practice and, trying all the time. And suddenly I started to speak Swedish. And now I can choose when to speak Spanish or English or Russia or, or the Swedish. So the language of the victim, if you have that all the time, you can learn the victor language, and you are not a bad person just because you don't can at the moment. It's because you have not learned. And when you start to learn that and you will practice and practice, it will be better and better and better.
I love it. I love it. I'm so glad you shared that, towards the end, because you can apply that to anything, right? Everybody that's watching, you can apply that to anything. And congratulations on, you speaking multiple languages, Alicia. That is so amazing. And really think back on your life, everyone that watches, the things that you achieved, right? Look at what you've done. And that's just the beginning. That is just the beginning. You can do that and more. And even things you may look outside of you and see other people do, you can do that and more. Whatever you conceive and believe, you can achieve. I really, really, really do believe that. So speaking of thinking, it said here towards the end, to think health surrounded by appearances of disease, right? To think riches in the midst of appearances of poverty, it all requires power, right? Who acquires this power becomes a master mind. You become a master of your own mind. And that reminds me of Thomas Troward. My mind is the divine operation, the center of divine operation. So your mind is the center of divine operation. That's exactly what Wallace is talking about, but in a different way. You become a master mind when you acquire the power to basically think riches in the midst of poverty. Wow, you can have what you want, right? We can create what we want to create. We can get what we want. We can become what we want to be. It all starts with your thinking, right? And I'll share here lastly, and I'll let Paul close here. In the book, these are the principles, right? These are 3 fundamental principles that sum up this entire chapter. And this is very important to understand. There is a thinking stuff from which all things are made, and which in its original state permeates, penetrates, and fills the interspaces of the universe. That's thinking, right? Remember, we talked about how we're in a thought world, part of a thought universe. A thought in this substance produces the thing that is imaged by the thought. Really think about that. Man or woman can form things in their thought, and by impressing their thought upon formless substance can cause the thing they think about to be created. Wow. So that is the 3 fundamental statements that sum up what was shared here, about the first principle of getting rich. And Paul, anything you want to add there?
Yeah, well, I was going to break down that statement. I've got that written down. That's so good. But we're getting near the end of the hour here. So I think, the key takeaway really is that those statements, those 3 statements that Jamel just read out, that the author wrote down there, they remind us that thought is the bridge between the invisible and the visible, between the unseen and the seen. And by impressing, a clear, purposeful thought, put it out there upon that formless substance into your subconscious mind, then you are participating in creation itself.
I like that, participating.
Very good.
Yeah, I like that. So speaking of participating, guess what? You can talk to one of us. Hey, we're human beings and we're creating. And by the way, we want to help you with this. So if you're inspired or something that was shared here, about your thinking, it doesn't stop here, right? And it doesn't start and stop just watching this. You know, you can do this every day for the rest of your life. And why not do it with people that want the best for you, right? I know my colleagues want the best for you, and this can bring any type of riches that you can imagine. You know, it always starts with a thought. And always feel free to reach out to any of us. Just message us on whatever platform that you're on, or click our link and schedule a call. You know, I love meeting people. I love talking to people, and I love helping people with this material. It's not just knowledge, right? You can read the book. We mentioned you can read this book 1,000 times. Wow. But, you know, if you're not applying it, nothing happens. You'll get the same results, right? And I know you don't want that anymore. So we're excited to talk with you soon. Feel free to reach out to either of us, you know, whoever you resonate with. You know, the point is to get you moving from where you are to where you want to go, and, you know, participate in the creation process. So anything else, anybody? We good?
You're good.
See you next Sunday on Coach's Corner. We'll be covering the next chapter of The Science of Getting Rich. This has been an amazing session.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining.